The Millers had always dreamed of living in a large, beautiful home far from the bustling city. So when they found a grand old house on the outskirts of town, surrounded by dense forest and shrouded in peace, they thought they had struck gold. Despite the eerie looks from neighbors and the unsettling silence when they mentioned their new address, they were thrilled. After all, the price was incredible, almost too good to be true. Mr. Miller chuckled, shrugging off the idea that the house might be haunted. Ghost stories are for kids, he'd joke, brushing aside any rumors. The first few nights passed peacefully as they settled in and explored the house's creaky wooden floors, narrow hallways, and towering ceilings. But on the fourth night, things took a strange turn. While Mrs. Miller tucked 8-year-old Lily into bed, the little girl suddenly pointed to the far corner of her room and whispered, "Mommy, who's that standing over there?" Mrs. Miller's heart skipped a beat. She glanced over, seeing nothing but darkness, and reassured Lily that it was just her imagination. But as she left the room, she couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching her. The next morning, when Mr. Miller went to grab his coffee in the living room, he noticed that every family photo had been turned upside down. Confused, he assumed Lily was playing a prank. But when he asked, she looked puzzled and said she hadn't touched them. The following nights grew increasingly disturbing. The family would wake to the sound of footsteps echoing through the hallways, though no one else was in the house. The air would grow ice cold, and doors creaked open and shut on their own. Shadows seemed to move in the corners of their vision, and once, Mrs. Miller thought she heard a soft, menacing whisper echoing through the rooms. One night, Lily ran into her parents' bedroom, her face pale with fear. "He wants to play with me," she sobbed, clutching her mother, "but he scares me." When asked who he was, Lily could only say, "The Shadow Man." Desperate, the Millers contacted a local priest. As he walked through the house, his prayers seemed to agitate whatever presence lurked there. In the basement, he froze, his face turning pale as he struggled for breath. "Something dark resides here," he told them in a trembling voice. "It is not just the house, it's the land beneath it. I suggest you leave." Still clinging to a shred of doubt, the Millers decided to spend one last night before leaving. As they sat at the dinner table that evening, the lights began to flicker, casting long, jagged shadows across the walls. The room filled with a foul, rotten odor, and they heard a deep, raspy voice calling out, "Lily, come play with me." Terrified, the family grabbed what they could carry and fled the house. As they reached the end of the driveway, Lily looked back, pointing at her bedroom window with wide eyes. Her parents turned to see a dark figure silhouetted in the window, staring down at them. Its eyes glowed faintly in the darkness, and its mouth stretched into a menacing grin. The Millers never returned to that house, and to this day, it remains empty. The townsfolk say that if you pass by on a quiet night, you might still hear the sounds of footsteps echoing through the empty halls, or catch a glimpse of a shadowy figure peering out from the windows, waiting for the next family to come home.